I played Medal of Honor and Medal of Honor Underground for the first time in 2025. Now, I did not beat these games as of yet, but I did play them, check them out to see what they were about. I played Medal of Honor thus far into the fourth out of the seven missions, and essentially at the last level of the fourth mission, Medal of Honor. I'm somewhere on the second mission. But these are impressive games, and I'm sure I would have been extra wowed in 1999, 2000. Now, I wasn't going to play a first person shooter at that time on a PlayStation because at that time I had a PC. I've experienced Quake 2 at that time and some other games. And I felt that the controls and the graphics were made for first person shooters. I didn't even think we'd be able to keep up. But these games seem to have a good frame rate, probably 30 frames per second. You do notice some drops in certain areas, especially in Medal of Honor Underground, as a vehicle or an extraordinary amount of enemies could appear. But other than that, it looks pretty good for the time. There's not much texture warping between the two games. There is some, but it's not as much as you expect in certain types of PlayStation games without the pre-rendered backgrounds and things of that nature. Kind of figured something like this when you're roaming through levels first person, it wouldn't hold up very nicely. Obviously, with fighting games or racing games, you're more focused in on the cars and you can do different techniques with the backgrounds, things on the side, etc. But when it comes to these two games, and even the controls, because when the PlayStation 1 was out, I was D-pad all the way through. I didn't use analog. Only time I experienced analog was when I had an N64 for a while, Dreamcast for a while, at that late 90s, early 2000 point in time, before the PlayStation 2, before the Xbox. But with the analog sticks with my PlayStation 2, and I'll put this in my PlayStation 2, you essentially have modern controls between the two analog sticks, in my opinion, where you can select the one that's going to be more modern, in my opinion, because the default one is a little off, but they do have a configuration that seems more modern to me, where I use the left stick to, move back, forth, turn, or strafe, something along those lines. And with the right thumbstick, I can look around. So I need to go back and forth and look around, kind of like I'm with a mouse and a keyboard, and I can flow nicely, just like I would do with games on the Xbox or PlayStation 2. So that's a good thing. And I see how console-based first-person shooters built off of this. And I think a couple of the developers got together between these two games and eventually came up with our Call of Duties and modern day Call of Duties that we see nowadays. And these games look pretty good for the time as well. Even when you get beyond the textures and the not as much texture warping, it does have an atmospheric aesthetic to it that, hey, even the shorter viewing distances adds to the atmosphere of these games. I dig it. I like it. And in terms of the story, yeah, they have videos to depict stories and some text, but I'm really not about that. And I especially wasn't about that type of things back when the PlayStation was popping. I was like, hey, is this fun to play? Is it cool? Shoot these things, do this and do that. It holds up for that. I go around, shoot the bad guys, and have a good time. I feel that the gameplay is strong in these two titles. And if I played it back in the day, and if I had an analog controller or the mouse, because I never got the mouse at the PlayStation, I probably would have enjoyed those games if I could have gotten over how it's being depicted as, hey, this is a World War II game. If I got over that and was enamored and read in magazines or what have you, that, hey, this is just a fun game in general, I probably would have went for something like this. Because there were certain games I didn't go for back in the day. Even when I tried out on the demo, I just wasn't a fan of Metal Gear Solid because I wanted to run and gun and run and shoot. I wasn't ready to take my time or sit down. I wanted to, bounce around, jump up and down, just like a lot of those first-person shooters, like a Quake 2 on the PC. So I've grown to appreciate certain types of games. I can sit back, chill, shoot, move forward, sit back, chill, take cover, shoot, and move forward. So yes, I'm appreciating this in 2025 of what these games were doing, the Medal of Honor and the Medal of Honor Underground. And I see how console first-person shooters built off of this. It's good stuff right there. Because the first console first-person shooter that was exclusive to it that I really got into was the Halo. Yeah, on the Dreamcast, I did play Quake 2 or Quake 3, or probably both. Probably both. I'm not sure if it was Quake 2 or Quake 3. I'm trying to remember. But I played that on there. I never played Quake 2 on the PlayStation because I heard the controls weren't as good as it was for the PC. I have to get the mouse, and I'm a kid. I wasn't going to get all that at that time. And I would like to try Quake 2 on another note on the PlayStation, but do I really want to get the mouse? Is there some kind of controller configuration I can figure out and work with? Maybe. So I may try Quake 2 on the PlayStation in the future because they seem to have got the texture warp issues to be less than these games. And the nature of that game, you don't have to worry about the distance and the visual distance, the draw distance as much in terms of the pop in. But I haven't played it myself. But from when I see it online, it holds up pretty well. So that's the next thing I may try at some point, the Quake 2. But to get back on track with Medal of Honor and Medal of Honor Underground, if you haven't tried this on the PlayStation and you were a PlayStation fan back in the day, you can literally jump in, dual analog sticks, whether it be your PS1 or your PS2, or even maybe a PS3, I don't know, because I played this by way of PlayStation 2 on a CRT TV so I can get that full, good, nice visual experience that was made for. And I dig this. And this is looking back 25 years from when the PlayStation 1 was popping. And I'm like, yo, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the graphics. I can appreciate how it handles. I can appreciate the consistent frame rate. I'm like, yo, these are good games in terms of gameplay. That's all I'm saying. So if you haven't tried it, hey, be sure to try this out. If you're a fan of PlayStation 1, you can see a progression of first-person shooters. And I hope to try Quake 2 on PlayStation 1 at some point in time. But in terms of these two, hey, even though I haven't finished it, it looks pretty good. Especially Medal of Honor, the first one in terms of enemy AI. Medal of Honor Underground, I'm not sure about the enemy AI right now. And there is some kind of weird parts where you walk through certain areas. It almost feel like a force field, like you got to try to jump a little bit. It's a tiny bit buggy in that sense. So like if it's a smaller walkway, I know I got to maneuver myself a certain way, if that makes sense. But it hasn't detracted from anything thus far. And I'm sure I will enjoy Underground as well. And I hope to finish Medal of Honor at some point and Medal of Honor Underground at some point as well. But I'm just saying, hey, I tried these for the first time in 2025. I was impressed. So you're a PS1 fan or you're a fan that's retro type of things, Go ahead, check it out. You won't be disappointed.